and we had to be careful to get this, like I say, tired arm. You got to remember, last spring he never had any arm problem, but he'd have a day off every now and then. He had to practice 4 days a week, and we had to make sure during this camp that the overuse, you know what I'm saying, you're going over and over and over, and he built it up during the summer, but for the most part it's been pretty good, and it's really starting, you can see it, the rest now is really starting to come back, and you can see the pop back in it, and it looks pretty good.
When was it that you first knew that you wanted to be a head coach, and what has the process been like compared to now?
You know, once I started coaching, I always said I wanted to be a head coach. Always wondered if I could. You know what I mean? You always have that, just like I talk with players, you know, can I really play here? Well, as you're going into coaching, could I really be a head coach? You always say you want to be one. Everybody says that. I mean, but and it takes it was really a few years into it to realize, you know, 4, 5, 6 years into it probably, that I said, you know, I think I can see myself in that role. I mean, you always said that, but you could feel that you know, I could do that. I could do that. Once you got around to really understand what being a head coach entitled, you know what I'm saying? And once I did that, but I always kind of knew I wanted to play or coach as long as I could, and then always said I wanted to be a head coach. But I was probably 4, 5, 6 years into coaching before I said, you know something, I can do this. I mean, I at least think you can anyway.
With Bjorn, was it immediate, like the first couple days of practice? Wow, this kid, it does translate from Connecticut prep school to Florida State.
Yeah, probably did. Probably saw him run and saw his change of direction, his work ethic, how strong he was, and then just played ball. I mean, you can see it pretty early. He had a chance to be a good player. But I think Tajman does. I say that before on Tajman. I think Tajman's got some things. He can run, athletic, and does some great things.
When it comes to, and it's a general question, but when it comes to developing a quarterback and building a rapport with them, how do you build that relationship, and how do you take them from here's a kid coming out of high school to
Depends on the kid. Every kid's different. It just depends. Some may come and have to be challenged and really gotten onto to break bad habits early. Others may have, you have to ease them into it by personality, what they respond to. Some you may have to change mechanically, totally different, so you don't put a lot on them. You ask them to do things they can do. And I think the important thing to do in the whole tenure, the most important of all of it, is to keep his confidence. Once a quarterback loses confidence, it's hard to play. I don't care. And it's hard to gain confidence back. So I think early in their careers, whatever you ask them to do, make sure they can do it.
Ponder was a guy who seemed to have that confidence. You had to kind of give him a little edge and just tell him
he did. He did. He always, because Ponder was a competitor. You know what I mean? And even if he didn't really truly feel about something, he would do it because you asked him, because that's just the way he's been brought up very well, and I'm told to do this, that's what I'm going to do. I think even though some things he would do, I think surprised him. You know what I mean? How well he could do them and what he was capable of. And like I said, I've been very fortunate and to have been around him. He's done a great job with me. Well, I get on him sometimes. Sometimes I push him too hard. I probably challenge him and ride him too hard.
Can you explain that a little bit? He's done a great job with me.
Well, because I'm demanding. I'm very nice. Sometimes, even though he's the guy, I mean, I get on him and I challenge him, and I want to find out what's in him. Now, but he's one that accepts that. Some guys you can't do that to. Other guys you can. You can push his buttons and he'll respond. I mean, you know, sometimes and just ride because it's in him. Some guys you can't do that to. And I think sometimes I think I've ridden him too hard.
When did you realize you could get away with doing that to him, that he responded?
Pretty early. Early. Really did. Because I read his personality. You know, being around him. You know what I mean? I knew that pretty early.
How rare is that?
It's rare in today's time. I've been fortunate to have quite a few that could do it. But the greatest ones I've had could handle that, in my opinion. They were because they were all tough mentally. And part of it, I explained to them, I'm going to try and break you at some time. I'm going to try, because I want to see that mental toughness. Because there's 83,000 people out there, and a bunch of ugly people on the other side trying to hit you and beat up on you. They ain't going to be nice. And if you crack, they're not going to let up. So, I mean, you got to try to get them to that point to where there's an inner toughness and mentally that they can go through those things. And that's the whole thing I try to do with pressure on those guys. Build as much pressure in practice so the games are easy.
What do you mean by mental toughness? I mean,
the ability not to waver and change your beliefs and what you think, and know what you know, and believe in what you know, and believe in your abilities, and never doubt them when it's the most crucial time of the game. I mean, a lot of guys have a lot of ability and can play and can't play at the end of the game because they doubt themselves. They don't have the mental toughness to be able to execute at the biggest plays and the biggest moments of the game. They can't handle that pressure. And somewhere along, and there's only so many situations you ever get into like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you've never prepared in them, how do you prepare for them for that? When they come, I want our guys have already went through it. They go through it with me. How I challenge them, how I get on them, which is probably a lot tougher than most guys. And I know that. But for the most part, those guys have played in. But I explain it to them. It's not like I do it and walk off. Hey, this is why I did that. This is why I'm going to do that. So listen, I'm going to find out what's inside you. I'm going to find out if you can handle it. Because the other thing, when the players on the team realize that guy can handle it, it's amazing how they handle it. It's amazing how they handle it.
What quarterback do you hold in the most esteem? Can you get it down to one? Is it somebody?
No, there's not. I've been blessed to have a lot of this guy I'm coaching like that.
Not the one so much necessarily, Jimbo, you've coached, but as an old quarterback yourself that you've admired over time.
Like I said, I've always been a huge Joe Montana guy. I mean, the pressure situations, the moments of how he did it, and the greatness in which he did it with so many different ways. I was a huge Johnny Unitas guy. I love Unitas. I mean, I just the respect he had in command. And you hear the old guys, the old players talk about him. I mean, there are very few guys like that. That old regime back in that time, you hear when they talk about Johnny Unitas, Dick Butkus, Jim Brown, Deacon Jones, a few of Jim Taylor. You know, I mean, those kind of guys, man, there's a command and respect of those great players. And, you know, then it was a guy that I think doesn't get the credit. Of course, I was a Terry Bradshaw guy because I think he was a tough guy as a Steelers fan. But I always thought Roger Staubach never got the credit he deserved. I mean, I always thought he was a guy that was old and give it all, lay it on the line, could beat you running, beat you throwing. Great team guy, great morals, great person. You know what I mean? I mean, all those guys.
Is he a good comparison for Christian? You think you're just
Who's that?
You were
Staubach?
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. If he ended up like him, I'd be happy there.
Well, I mean, you said early on in this conversation, part of the reason you were interested in promoting him from the Heisman were the non-football qualities.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Would that be a good comparison to Staubach in that sense?
I don't know Roger personally, but it seems like it would be. From being outside looking in, it seems like that would be. You know, I think that's one of the great ones in our past, and we just, for some reason, we don't talk about it. If they would ever beat the Steelers, it might have been the greatest team of all time. And I don't mean that with any. It's happened. Those Cowboy teams were great teams.
Jimbo, you talked about staying in town. Is there any other differences, just like in a game weekend now compared to the past, what you guys are going to be doing?
Yeah, how we meet. Our meetings in here are on-field walkthroughs, and how we do. I mean, it'll be a little different routine. I mean, we have meetings and things like that, but what we do everything as a unit. Do everything as a team. Everything. What the offense does, the defense does, the special teams does. Everybody does it together. We'll go to a movie. We'll see a movie right before the game. We'll do that as a team. We'll have our meetings. Our one reels at night. In other words, we get back, get our special team stuff done, and we'll, each wife will have a not chair drill the next day, but we'll do one reel. What we call one reel night before games. And offense, defense will have a call session about 20 seconds, and we'll watch a highlight video together as a team and positive thoughts going to bed. I mean, just a lot more, I guess, more together in everything we do in a time constraint.
What movie are you gonna see?
They voted for Takers. I let the team vote each week. It's a new movie coming out. It's about something about bank robbery. Something about a bank robbery movie, isn't that right? Huh? Something about, I don't know. Huh?
There won't be a lot of romantic comedies on that.
No, that was they vote. They got to see what's out. See whatever's out. Let the team vote on it. See what they want to see, what they want to do.
Jimbo, being a person who is as process-oriented as you are, when you have the team in the locker room, either before the game or when they're getting ready to go back out onto the field for the second half, is it difficult for you to not become emotional and give a type of emotional speech, or are you more analytical and say this is what we should be doing?
I think it's a point for both. I think emotion doesn't win games. Neither does analytical. I think there's got to be a combination of both. You have to, all right, what are we going to do? Explain it. Boom, 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 boom. But now, if you don't play football with passion and emotion, hard to be successful. Emotion and passion, that's what this game is based on. But it is to the guy who can think. Emotion, passion, toughness, all those things. But it's the guy that can still process information, make decisions, and think and understand the situations that he's in, and the moment that he's in, that's the guy who wins. But I think it takes both.
So you're gonna give him an emotional speech on Saturday before your first game?
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes those things, some of your best speeches and some of your best things you say, sometimes, believe it or not, aren't planned. I mean, you have to feel the moment, the team, what demeanor they're in. They may be something that need to calm down. They may be sky high trying to jump through the roof. Or they may be low, scared to come out. You don't ever know how a team, you know what I mean? I think you got to have your plan for what you got to get accomplished and what you got to get said. But I think that's part of I don't know, it's a feel. And that's like the game, the sports. There's always, 80% you coach, 20% is gray area. It's never the same. If you can figure out that gray area, is usually the guy who wins.